will all countries establish stable coins. And in a way, I would say, as being sort of a strange economist historian hybrid, I would say that we used to have stable coins, and of course, because the gold standard in a way, and before that the bimetal standards, and used to be sort of money used to be very much a stable coin, because the idea was that you could always its value, the trust, if you will, was bound to the stability of the underlying asset, and gold was supposedly the most stable we could find, although it tends to be the case that it was never stable enough, because you found new gold mines, etc., and the value of it diminished. But one key point here is, if money is too stable, that's a problem as well. So one of the key because one of the debates when we left the gold standard was during the Great Depression in the 1930s. So for sometimes it's actually good for money to be its value to actually decrease as time goes on. So I'd say that that's sort of a hindrance for, if you're too stable, if your money is too stable, then you have a problem if you're going to scale it up for entire economy, because the economy needs to be flexible and needs its money supply to be flexible. And I think this is a challenge for all sorts of money. And I think we've never no monetary system has entirely been able to solve the question of how much money to produce and how do you set the best. I mean, some people say that you should have the perfect algorithm, like an artificial intelligence that could create the exact optimal amount of money. I mean, that would be an interesting hypothetical solution.
Well, what's your thought on the e-kroner then? Do you want to talk or touch upon that?
I can do that. So the e-krona is more or less, you could say that it's not an existing CBDC. What it is more like a project. So Sweden, of course, is one of the countries in the world where cash is used the least. So the e-krona project is a project that has been created by the Swedish Central Bank, and it looks into such questions as, what are the problems if we see a completely digital society in which also the majority or almost all money is private bank money? And is that a problem? And if it is, could the creation of a CBDC called e-krona, could that mitigate some of these problems? And there has been some publications on this from the central bank, but there's been no decision to launch it, and ultimately it will be a question for Swedish Parliament to decide. So ultimately it becomes again a political question.